Hello and welcome or welcome back to Actually Let's Talk About It with me, your host Lily, and today I will be reacting to The Good Bad Mother, episode 9. We are over halfway done with this series, y'all, and it's about to get good because the last episode, Kang-Ho is walking now, okay? But also his mother learned that there is evidence that he hid in the picture frame of marking his first birthday that had her, him, and then the cutout picture of the dad and pasted onto the picture. And it's an SD card. And we don't know what's in that SD card, y'all. But we gonna find out. Okay? Okay. And this is all coming under on the heels of her finding out that she has stage 4 stomach cancer and that, her time is limited. So she'd been teaching Kang-Ho how to prepare for her funeral, how to take care of the house, and how to take care of their pig farm. Y'all. And let's not forget that she done lost all the pigs because of the food, the throat and the mouth. There's some type of disease that has to do with a random goat, and they had to get rid of, they had to kill off any livestock within the vicinity. It was crazy, y'all. Even though none of her pigs were sick, the government came in and still killed off all of her livestock. And what didn't make sense about that situation was the fact that they didn't compensate her for it. They just were like, yeah, we got to kill the pigs, but we're not going to compensate you for the pigs so you can buy more. I'm like, that's giving very much American government, if you ask me. Because I'm like, y'all not going to compensate her for the fact that her pigs wasn't sick? But y'all killed them off anyway to prevent the spreading of contagion. Okay, I'm like, that's not cute. But and we move. However, y'all, we're going to get straight into this episode very shortly here. But before we get straight into the episode, if you are watching this on YouTube, do not forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not already subscribed, because we are on the long road to 1,000 subscribers. But right now, the goalpost is at 400, and we are getting closer and closer every day. And then also don't forget to like this video if you're watching this on YouTube, because likes help with the algorithm and help the video go out to more people. And also don't forget to comment if you would like to comment. If you want to, you are not obligated to. And then now we are going to do the patron shout out. So the first patron shout out does go out to Keisha L. Thank you so much for being a patron. Your support is so very much appreciated. And then the second patron shout out goes out to MK Han. Thank you so much for being a patron. And again, your support is so very much appreciated. The third patron shout out does go out to Dia or Dea, spelled D-E-A. And I want to thank you so much for your support, and it is very much appreciated. And then the final and the fourth patron shout out goes out to Renaya Shannon. I want to thank you so much for your support, and it is very much appreciated. And now that we have shouted out our patrons, we are going to get straight into this reaction to The Good Bad Mother episode 9, just so we can see what kind of evidence does Kang-Ho have on that SD card. And I'm hoping it's substantial, y'all. I'm so hoping it's substantial, because it's going to take a lot to bring these men down. And I'm just hoping he has the evidence to back it up. That's all I'm going to say. She getting married to Jibo? Okay. Oh, so he's playing a rich tribal on here too. I love to see it.
그럼 돼지치는 네 엄마가 백 좀 써줬을 텐데.
Okay, she did not see. This is why she a bad mom, okay? Because I'm like, you don't hit your kid in defense of a rich kid. You just take that bullet. I'm like, okay, then press the charges. Because we'll see. We'll see. Because it's all going to come out anyway. Whenever rich kids do things like that, it came out. Just like in the States. When the rich kids' parents, like the girl who played Aunt Becky on Full House, she was bribing her daughter's way into school. And it became a big lawsuit and a big thing to where they got jail sentences. And I'm like, as they should. Because you're bribing your kids' way in. Taking away from people who actually need those spots. Well, your kids could have just went to a regular, say, another school because they aren't skilled and they got basic grades. but they come from wealthy families, but they just don't got no skills. You could have all the wealth in the world and no intelligence, and it means nothing. It means nothing if you hire people to do everything for you. Because I'm like, so the fact that she's just out here defending and apologizing for her son's behavior when her son's not in the wrong, it's just so ridiculous to me. And I'm like, girl, get up off your knees, begging this child who's younger than you, who pushed you as an elder, and then you slapped your son instead of slapping him. I'm really not understanding her. Yeah, I can see why he stopped talking to her, because I'm like, she just did so many things against him. It's really ridiculous at this point. Wait, that bank book is the same bank book he gives Mi-Joo. That's the same bank book he gave to Mi-Joo. So that was all the money that his mom would send him. And he gave the bank book to her. Ooh, okay.
증인이 피해자에게 원한이 있었거나 아니면 뭐 너 어디 한번 당해봐라라든가 아니면 중간에 마음 바뀔 일이 있었거나 뭐 가령 누군가에게 협박을 당했다든가 돈을 받았다든가
왜 농장에 불을 지릅니까?
그렇지, 맞습니다. 아무리 생각해도 농장에다 불을 지른 거는 그 잘못한 거라. 시장에 막 채식집에다가 찔렀으면은 이 꼴 잡는 애 없었을 텐데, 그쵸?
Wow.
분명 그놈들 짓일 거라는 느낌이 들었어. 근데 수사 결과 아무 증거도 나오지 않았고 난 송이사 보복이 두려워서 입을 닫을 수밖에 없었지.
그래 어머님도 못 오시는데 나 혼자 가 있는 것도 이상하긴 해 그치?
Oh, to protect them. He didn't want his mother there, and he didn't want Mi-Joo there, so that nobody knows that he has any personal connections outside of the fact that he's just someone who moved up very quickly in the prosecutor world. Oh, he is setting the stage for himself. So if anybody's going to be a target, it's going to be him and him alone. Oh, he was so good at it.
힘없고 소외된 사람들을 돌보.
Now this is kind of dumb. Like, you wanted him to be a painter. And instead of letting him be free and carefree, you literally put him on a revenge path. As his mother. To seek out the justice that you didn't want to seek out yourself. You see, this is where Kang-Ho's mother really doesn't have my respect. Because it's very weird of you as a parent to put the weight. And I get that that's your husband that died. And I get that she was pregnant at the time. But there was so many ways she could have sought justice for her husband if you knew that he didn't die by suicide. You didn't have to accept what the prosecutor was telling you. You really didn't. But she chose to. And then you chose to push your son, who was your husband's son as well, so hard and so vehemently to be a prosecutor. For what purpose? Because it's not to bring honor to the family. Because if you had to just let him be an artist, he would have had more than enough money. An abundant amount of money. Because artists get paid like no other nowadays. Especially with social media. You could just post a picture of you like drawing in real time and lapse it towards a 60-second post. It get millions of views. That's money. And instead you just made him go down this hard path where he's trying to figure out what happened to his father. He's unearthing all the unethicalness we already knew about the prosecutor and the dude and director song. And he didn't even have to go through all that if you had to just let him live the life that he wanted. He could have found out the truth through the money he had and through the connections he had. He could have hired private eyes. He could have hired investigators and could have got justice that way. Instead of him being in the literal path of these evil men, putting himself directly in their line of sight as the son of a man they both had a hand in murdering. She just not making sense to me.
오늘 따뜻한 바에 봉사할 것을 나의 명예를 걸고 굳게 다짐합니다.
And I'm going to say why I don't like her and I don't really respect her character. She's a phenomenal actress though. But I don't respect the character she plays here is because as a parent, would you have gone through trauma unnecessarily? Because she lost her parents and her brother in a crazy ass accident. And then you lost your husband in a crazy ass way. For you to have gone through all that trauma in your life and then seek to inflict similar pain on your descendants is sadistic to me. And it's something that I can never really respect about people. Because I'm like, if you as a parent went through all this trials and tribulations, why would you want your kids to go through the same thing? That's what I never got. I'm like, you went through all this unnecessary stuff in life. You've lost a lot of people that you love. And you have this baby, this innocent person who is Kang-Ho, who you're raising. And instead of letting him be him, you want him to be somebody you want him to be. So you want him to be unhappy. You don't want him to be him around you. And you're wondering why, even though he loves her, he has to stay away from her. Because he kind of was like that type of person like me. I could love you from a distance, but if I know that you're not good for me to be around, I'm not going to be around you. Family or not. Because blood might be thicker than water, but it's not the end all be all. We could be blood related and I never speak to you in this life again. Because if your ethics don't match with mine, if your energy doesn't match with mine, and all you bring is confusion, and you try to bring trauma into my life for no reason, unprovoked, because that's all she's brought into Kang-Ho's life is trauma. The last 35 years of his life has been marred by things that she's done to him in his childhood and in his adult years. That's all that she's given him is trauma. With a sprinkle of what she thinks is love. And that's incredibly selfish of her. Incredibly selfish of her. Because that's not what your husband would want for you. That's not what your parents would want you to do. Or your brother. All these people that you've lost, and they're looking down on what you're doing with the last remaining descendant. Well, not the last remaining descendant. To her knowledge, her only descendant. The only proof of the bloodline from both her husband's side of the family and hers. After herself. Because she won't live forever. It's Kang-Ho. And instead of you pouring into him, you're draining him. And that's like the weirdest thing about her as a character. Like, because there are parents like this. But these type of people normally don't have good relationships with their kids. Their kids cut them off after they hit 18 and leave them alone completely. These are the type of people, especially when people in the States have these type of parents, they either run away while they're still minors from parents like this and live with friends until they hit 18, until they can provide for themselves. But they don't usually stay around parents like this because she's incredibly toxic. And everything that she's given him is either a trigger for him in adulthood or a trauma for him, to where he has trauma responses. So she's just not, it's not good. She's good-ish now, but it's still giving much bad mom. And like, we're really seeing it in this episode. She is just really the worst. And I'm like, and I wanted to root for her, but I'm like, girl, the more we find out about his childhood, the more I don't like you. The more I don't like you.
난 모르는 일이 아닐까요? 모르신다.
Wow, how unethical he is.
한 달 뒤에 정년 퇴임하신다고 들었습니다.
And unfortunately, it's people like this who are in positions of authority. And the weird thing about karma is that it doesn't hit them, but it hits their kids and their grandkids crazily. And that's the sad part about it. But men like him, I've seen it. Even in the States, we've seen it where these men, they're like, oh, why did that happen to their daughter like that? Or why did that happen to their son like that? Or why did that happen to their grandson like that? Or why did that happen to their granddaughter like that? And then it's unearthed about the evil that they did. Because I remember this one story, y'all. And it was really, really insane. The story. So I was watching A&E, and in America the A&E channel is where you watch like these 48 hours or the first 48 hours, and they're really about their crime shows, about actual crimes that have happened and the investigations into those crimes. And there was this really crazy story about this European American man, y'all, and his daughter had been kidnapped. It turned out that, and it was so crazy how this story went, y'all. It didn't make no sense how they didn't save her as the police in time, because his daughter was a European American woman, and we know how much priority they place on their own people in the States and in any Western country when they're missing. And his daughter was a wife, she was a mother. She got kidnapped by this man who was also European American as well, who was stalking her. And he had got into the house and he had kidnapped her from their home. And the neighbor had saw this man force her into his car and drive away. And she called the cops because the kids were left unattended. She had like 2 or 3 kids or something like that. And she called the cops. She called the husband. The husband called her dad. And her dad is a European American man who was a retired police officer. Keep that in mind for later in the story. And at every interval, y'all, that they could save her, people kept calling the police. And the police kept being behind and delayed in their response. And in the end, that European American woman died at the hands of this man. And they did end up catching this man. But by that time, she had already passed away. The sickest part about this story, y'all, was that it came out that her father, who was a retired policeman, when he was younger, there was a woman that he used to be romantically involved with who had got pregnant and who he had told to get an abortion. And she went into a depression and ended up committing suicide because he was really evil to her. And then you fast forward all these years later, and his daughter that he ended up having with a different woman at the same age that the woman who he wronged and told to get an abortion and left her, and she ended up being depressed and had a suicide, the same age she was when she died, his daughter was when she was murdered. And I was just like, when I heard that, I was like, wow. Wow. Because of the evil of her father, she died. Because that was karma. Because that young woman who he wronged, she mattered. And the fact that his daughter passed away at the same exact age, because it says it even in the Bible, the iniquity of the father visits the children. And that's always stayed with me because I've seen how karma works in this world. And the way that the evil that you do can affect your children. Because the greatest pain to a parent is for it to affect your children and your grandchildren, not for it to affect you. And just the fact that that kind of karma exists in this world. So when I'm looking at this show and this police officer is kind of doing crazy unethics, I'm like, the reaping of that type of evil, because you have to remember outside of us, there is a spiritual world, especially because Black people or African people of the African diaspora, we are heavily into spirituality and outside of whatever religion we belong to. And then I do know that Asian people believe in the power of their ancestors. And you have to know that the wrong that you do is going to catch up with you one way or another. And I'm like, this dude really thought he was getting away with it. But it's not a coincidence that the son of the man that you covered up the murder of is standing right before you asking you questions about that same murder. And I'm just like, and he thought he got away with it because it had been 28 years. I'm like, Y'all, karma is real. And it pays how it pays. And it is not no respecter of persons. Because it's going to pay how it's going to pay. And you want to always be on karma's good side. You do not want to have bad karma.
모르게 해주세요. 내가 얼마나 사랑했는지 모르게 해주세요. 내가 얼마나 사랑하는지. 그냥 덮자. 윤재민 때문이죠. 정정구를 없앨 수도 있다고요? 지금부터 내가 찾을 거예요. 그러니까 그때까지 당신은 이 안에서 꼭 살아있어야 돼요. 명백한 증거를 찾아올
그냥 우리 둘 다 이미 죽었다고 해주시면 안 돼요?
둘 다요. 이를 건넨 집 사장님이세요.
Oh, so he's trusted. Oh,
받아드릴 거예요.
take him to. Oh, perfect.
가져가서 뭘
Perfect.
한 시간만 참으세요.
Yo, I remember him. He was the one that was there when him and Mi-Joo were like in their dating phase still. That's how him and Mi-Joo met at his restaurant. Okay, so I know this woman and her baby is safe. If they're gonna be going to the Philippines, they're gonna be real safe there. They're gonna be safe. He ain't never gonna find her.
좀 나을 거야. 그럼
But he couldn't get in touch with the man. With his friend from the restaurant owner. He was trying to get in touch with him and he wasn't answering the phone. I hope he okay. And the baby and the mom. This ain't cool. If he found out. Yes, ma'am. She don't get to feel guilty now. I'm so sorry, but him being like file piety or feel piety, whatever they want to call it, screw that. Because there comes a time when I don't really owe you as a parent for raising me, because that's something that you're supposed to do because you chose to have kids. Kids didn't choose to be born. You as a parent chose to have kids. So in that regard, kids don't owe you anything as parents because you were doing what you legally are obligated to do when you have kids. Raise them. So the way Kang-Ho feels indebted to her, I don't get it. Because she didn't really nurture you, per se. But you know, and I get people have different ways of showing their love, but the amount of trauma and pain that he just didn't have to go through at her hands, and you're supposed to be the person that loves him most, you can't dismiss that. You know, you can't dismiss that or try to say, oh, well, she was going through pain. That doesn't mean you inflict pain on other people. That's not how that goes. You going through pain as a parent is not an excuse and a leeway for you to inflict the same pain or more pain or a different variation of that pain on your children who are innocent. It's never an excuse. And then she out here feeling guilt-ridden, as she should. But now you're going to try to destroy his evidence that not just he needs, but the people that he's trying to help need that. Like all the people that are innocent that are sitting in prison for cases that he was a prosecutor over because of these two individuals that he's entangled with, from the old prosecutor who's running for president to the chairman's son. He's trying to make sure that those people that they put in prison for their own misdeeds are able to get out. And now she's about to destroy that evidence. I really don't like her. Why? This woman is so just stupid. Just stupid.
내가 망가지면 하는 복수는
That is not right. That is so upsetting. So he did all that planning. They did all that planning together and she still didn't make it out. I'm upset. I'm upset, y'all. I'm really upset. I'm really upset now. But yeah, my thoughts on this episode, y'all. I really don't like his mother. This episode, episode 9, really solidified my dislike of her as a character. I am not rooting for her. What will be in terms of her. Because she's just continuously choosing to be bad at parenting. Continuously. Even now that she's gotten the second chance, she's still purposely, selfishly messing up. Oh, the best revenge is to forget about everything that they did wrong and to live a good life. You literally messed up your son to where he can't. You literally made it to where his entire motivation for doing anything that he's done in the last 35 years of his life has been because you forced him into it and you told him he needed to do this so that he could be happy. Basically, you told him he needed to be a prosecutor so he could be happy and so that he could have power and influence so he wouldn't end up like you and his dad. And now you're trying to change it and say, oh, let's forget about revenge and let these evil people run all over us and let these evil people who now know your face and will probably soon know his mother's face, let them do what they will. And let's just forget that anything that they did against the family ever happened. That is so stupid. That is so stupid. And at her big age, she knows better. And that's all I'm saying. I'm like, that is so stupid. So you're basically saying, let's forget that they murdered your husband. Let's forget that you became a very horrible person to your son because they murdered your husband and because you didn't know what to do about it. And you pushed your son into a corner to where he had to take revenge in order to feel like he accomplished something in his life. But let's forget it. She's not making sense. She's not making sense at all. And, you know, at this point, I don't think she's really a redeemable character. I think she's just a bad mother. There's nothing good about her. Like, there's nothing good about her. Like, there were moments of goodness, but overall, she's a horrible person. I mean, she's incredibly selfish to the point to where it's stifling to her only son. She cares so much more about appearances. And the amount of times that she's hit him for no reason in this show, once is too many. It's crazy. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. But I'm really mad if Kang-Ho and that gorgeous woman with the baby did all that they did and he still was able to find her and kill her. I would be so upset. So very angry if they didn't make it out. That would just upset me so much, y'all. That would upset me so much. And now the evidence is gone. So even if Kang-Ho wanted to prove his innocence, that he didn't do anything to that woman and that baby, his mother literally burned it. Like I said, she is just stupid. As a character, she is a stupid person. Because who burns evidence that proves innocence? Who? She didn't even think it through. She's just disappointing. Emphasis on the bad mother. Like, nobody can tell me any different. She is just really not it. That's all I'm gonna say. I watched that and I'm like, yeah, that's not a good parent. That's an abusive parent. That is a trauma-inducing parent, but that's not a good parent. And nothing that she did was actually for him. It was based off of your own fear. And when you move in fear, you can do very bad things. Like there's a quote that says the greatest harm comes from the best intentions. And her best intentions have caused Kang-Ho literally the greatest harm over these last 35 years. The greatest harm. And she's not stopping. She's not stopping. It wasn't too many episodes ago where she was trying to kill them both. She's just off. And I'm like, and I don't respect her character at all. The woman who plays her, kudos to her. Because she's really giving us bad mother. But this character, there's nothing redeemable about her. Yes, you've been through trauma. And loss and great suffering. But for you to just continue it to another generation instead of it ending with you, that's something I can't appreciate. To where now it's even affecting Kang-Ho's kids, aka the twins. Because not just too many episodes ago, the little boy was crying about the fact that he didn't know who his father was. But if Kang-Ho wasn't on this revenge mission that literally was initiated and encouraged by his mother, he would have been a father for the twins. Him and Mi-Joo would be married. They wouldn't have to be taunted at school by the kids saying he don't know who his dad is. So her evil and her fear and her not wanting to just let Kang-Ho be and her forcing dreams on him has literally caused pain for Kang-Ho and even his children. Because I know the twins is his. It hasn't come out yet, but I can put two and two together. So like, yeah, I don't like her. Y'all, that's that's it. I'm gonna end it there. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like you could have broken the generational cycle of evil and you just chose to continue it. I don't got no respect for that. I'm like, you could have broken the generational trauma. It could have ended at you. But nah, I'm gonna do it at my son. And then by extension, it's affected the grandkids too. So I'm like, no, it's enough for me. I don't know. She's really disappointing as a character. I thought she would get better, but she's just getting worse. So yeah, I'm done with my rant. I'm done. But yeah, if y'all stayed until the end of this video, thank you so much for staying and rocking with me through that. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, do not forget to subscribe, because like I mentioned earlier in the video, we are on the road to 400 subscribers, y'all. I almost forgot. And we are steadily getting there. We are on the longer road to 1,000 subscribers. And every day we get a whole heck of a lot closer to that goal. And also don't forget to give this this reaction a thumbs up. A good thumbs up. That's what I was trying to say. Because this helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps the video get out to more people. And if you are watching this video on Patreon, thank you so much for being a patron. Your support is so very much appreciated. And as always, y'all, I will be back with another reaction relatively soon. But until next time, y'all, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.